Six Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society.
Well, hello, everyone. It's so good to see people coming into the Six Screens tonight. And I am telling you, we are seeing so many new ones coming in on Facebook, on YouTube, coming in on our radio network. And within the next month or so, we're going to be up on TikTok and Twitter and a number of other platforms as well. But, it's amazing to me to see all of this taking place and what's going on in the Watchtower. Friends, I know you know it. I know it. They are on life support. So we'll be talking about that tonight. But anyways, my name's Rick Farron. I'm coming to you from the apostate capital of the world up here in Boston, Massachusetts. And I have to say that it is the apostate capital of the world. We broke the record back in August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. We had a 350 apostates, opposers, critics come to our Six Screens Still Alive in 2025 convention. So this is the apostate capital of the world. And if you're ever up this way, we'd love to have you come and see us. And we do have a studio in Lowell, Massachusetts that you can come and visit and meet with me and some of the other people that are on the Six Screens. So that would be a great thing. If you're up in the Massachusetts area, let me know and I'll be glad to meet with you. So anyways, what I want to say is really good here tonight because I'm noticing, we have a Facebook group, and the Facebook group is called Six Screens of the Watchtower Facebook group. And I have been getting up every morning. I get up early. I get up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and I have so many people that want to join the Six Screens Facebook group. And I'm saying, what is going on here? Now, I've had that group for like 10 years. I've never seen so many people wanting to join the group. So I'm saying, what's causing this? Now, what I do, it's what we call a closed group. Not everybody becomes a member. I have to check these people out because there's a lot of scammers. They'll come on and try to sell jewelry and boots and shoes and everything else. So I try to check some of these people out and, what groups they're in. If they're friends of mine, they're mutual, how Facebook works, right? So anyways, what I'm finding is these new people coming into the Six Screens Facebook group, believe it or not, many of them are loyal or were loyal Jehovah's Witnesses. They were in Jehovah's Witness sites. And it's just something else to see this. It makes my heart glad. And then do you understand what's going on up in Canada? Boy, the witnesses up there now. You talk about nations coming down on the witnesses. We're going to add another one now. We got 13 different nations that are really ticked off with the Jehovah's Witnesses, and that's a good thing. But I can tell you, I'm also the moderator. I have the group, the Canadian Jehovah's Witness group on Facebook as well. And same thing over there. Every day I want to join Six Screens, not the Six Screens, but the Canadian group. And I've been getting them in. So many Canadians who were Jehovah's Witnesses are now leaving as well. Friends, we are making some points on the scoreboard. And I want to thank all the people on YouTube, all the people that are creators, the people in these Facebook groups, you guys calling into the program tonight. All of you guys are making a big difference. And I want to shout out to you all. Keep up the good work because it's not only the nations, but it's all of us ex-Jehovah's Witness activists that are making a big movement in bringing the Watchtower down. And we are counting down the last days of the Watchtower. Well, did you hear what's going on? Now, the witness world, they got many changes. They're now evidently allowing people to put lights on their houses. Yeah, LED lights. Now, don't get too excited. I mean, LED lights right now are very popular. I know because I'm basically in the business with LED lights. But the Watchtower is now saying that you can put LED lights on your house. Now, that in the past has been a no-no. There have been people brought into judicial meetings about that, and they were told, and this is what the Watchtower's official statement is. Yes, you can now put these lights on your house, but you have to shut them off during the holidays. Now, isn't this nuts? Isn't this nuts? The Watchtower is all over the map, friends. This is just something else. So you can put these LED lights on your house, but make sure you don't come Christmas, shut those lights off. Make sure come Halloween, shut those lights off, or whatever holiday it would be. Don't put them on a holiday. And I found this fascinating because I found a clip. I don't have it to play to you here tonight, but I found a clip of Stephen Lett. Let's call him Pope Lett. Well, I found a clip of his, and he was saying that string lights, that they use for Christmas time, that people put them on their houses, string lights. He says string lights are not acceptable at Warwick balconies during November and December. So evidently you can have strip lights on the balconies of Warwick, headquarters during every month, but November and December. I mean, how crazy is this, right, friends? I mean, wouldn't a Watchtower drive you nuts, actually? But I wanted to bring that up tonight because all the other changes. But I'm going to tell you something about Christmas in the Watchtower. They really, in some congregations, they get real serious on what people can do around the holidays. Now, people love to decorate their house. My wife Susan here, she loves to put little pumpkins out in wreaths and things like that, just to make it look warm and friendly, right? But there was a woman in Florida. She was a sister when I went to the congregation when I lived in Florida. And Christmas time, she would put out mistletoe and pine branches all around her door. And I really thought the Watchtower was going to come down on her. She loved Christmas, and evidently because she loved all the decorations, and they let her go. But you know what she did? She also was a saleswoman for the American Greeting Card Company, and they got on her case about that. They really said that job probably wouldn't be a good job because you have to put out holiday cards. Now here the sister, she had a big house. Her and her husband both worked, but why would you want to put a person in financial jeopardy? Don't get that job because you shouldn't be handling those Christmas cards or those Halloween cards or birthday cards. I mean, at some point the Watchtower's got to lighten up. And I think they are. I think they are. But at one time when I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses, of course I've been out for 20 years now, but I was a Jehovah's Witness for 50 years of my life. And at one time, and maybe you folks thought the same thing, at one time I really thought that the governing body cared for us. Now, how silly is that now that I look back on it? But I really thought that they looked out for our interest. I thought they had a caring factor. And that's how I felt about it years ago. I didn't think they were making much money. I didn't know they were wearing expensive clothing or all of this. Now that we're seeing them on the Watchtower website and the JW broadcasting, the governing body, man, they are losing ground fast. These old fogies, they're not really connecting with the people. A lot of the witnesses are even saying these are the people running the organization. But so be that. So be that. I don't want to get up into the weeds. But I used to think that the governing body really cared for us. I thought they really loved us. Boy, things have changed. I'll tell you that. And I have to tell you, even going back to the 1960s, even the 1970s, I can remember my presiding overseer. I really liked that man. Geez, he was such a good guy, an honest guy. He treated everybody nice. And that elder really had a feeling for people. And I really thought that elders and governing body and officials, circuit overseers, district overseers, I really thought they loved us. But I don't believe that now. Uh, no, as a matter of fact, I can see. Well, one time they cared about our ministry. They really taught us, right, in the ministry school, in the service meeting. They taught us how to go out door to door, how to knock on a door, how to be polite, what to say. And, it really was good training. And I really thought they really cared about us and how we handled ourselves. And I was proud, as I've always said here in the Six Screens, at one time to be a Jehovah's Witness. And at one time, I mean, it was all about theology. It was all about learning things from the Bible. However, something happened in the 1990s, right around 1992, the internet. The internet came into being, and all of a sudden, everything started changing. I'm going to use that as a line of demarcation. I'm going to say everything in the Watchtower would give you a warm and fuzzy feeling up until the internet came out. And of course, that was around the early 90s, right? So the Jehovah's Witness leadership, when that internet came out and people could now look these guys up online, they realized they got to do some changes here. They no longer really wanted to really get into the doctrinal, theological arena. They knew darn well their dates, their prophecies, all of that stuff would go up in smoke now that people could get on the internet. So they started dumbing things down. Oh, yeah. They started dumbing things down and not being deeply doctrinal or theological. They're not. You go up to a witness today and ask them about anything that's doctrinal, they're going to back right off. They're going to show you that the QR code to jw.org. They're going to get you on there. They're not going to answer it for you. But we were equipped to answer everything. Many of us had we had the reasoning book. We had it sewn or glued right into our Bible, and we were able to defend ourselves. We could make a defense for our faith in the Jehovah's Witness religion. Yes.
Well, I was thinking too, when you were talking about them equipping us in the ministry, those were sales meetings. Those weren't really spiritual meetings. I mean, they were teaching us how to sell the Bible, how to sell what we were saying, how to want to buy the magazines. That was a sales magazine. It was sales. When they stopped teaching us how to sell around the 90s, that's when things started not going so well.
Well, Susan, you're absolutely right. And right around then, when the internet came out, I'm going to put the year 1992 in, because that's when some people say the internet really got a foothold in society. But to make the story come alive here, I'm going to tell you, but back in the early 90s, when the internet came out, the Watchtower realized that their ship has been torpedoed. Yeah, it's starting to sink. And the Watchtower really saw that. And so any genuine caring that I thought at one time the Watchtower had for people, any genuine caring the Watchtower had in the 90s was thrown overboard. I really see that. I'm using that as a line of demarcation. From that point onward, all the carrying on of the Watchtower was simply trying to keep the ship from sinking. Yes, it's just about sunk now, friends. But all of these decades, they have been trying to keep their Watchtower ship from sinking. So the Watchtower now is simply a cult trying to survive. That's it. I can't say anything else. I don't even like calling it a religion, but sometimes I have to call it a religion to stay in the vernacular of understanding. But the organization, I mean, we talked about it a couple months ago, how they formed these companies in Ireland, the asset management companies. all of these things. You would never see this stuff before. And of course, they're changing, ever changing policy and doctrine to be more popular and less offensive. Even talking about the LED lights on your building, they're starting to loosen up a little bit. So actually, they're lowering the standards. The Jehovah's Witness Watchtower organization is now lowering the standards for Jehovah's Witnesses. I mean, we know there's no more ministry hours to be reported and so many other things. I'm not even going to get into all that tonight. But they now realize that they can't continue to give dates. Look at all the failed predictions and prophecies they had. And look at their theology. It's a mess. Everybody knows it, and you can check it out online. It's bad. It's bad. People are now realizing the Watchtower is not this pristine image organization. They're tarnished. The Watchtower's got a bad name out there in the public. There's no question about it. The survival of the Watchtower business is really what matters. There's no more concern for the ministry. In individuals who have kind of strayed away, they could care less about them. There's no theological research the witnesses are doing anymore. And has anyone noticing something lately that I've been noticing? I believe you have been, but maybe you don't really look into the witness world like I do every week. But I'm getting, a lot of people write me, and a lot of people have been telling me the word has been coming up here a lot. It's stagnation, stagnation, and a strange stagnation is taking place right now in the Watchtower organization. And I've noticed it. And if you're a witness that's listening in tonight, which we do have a bunch of PMOs, we actually even have loyal witnesses listening in. But if you're a witness listening here tonight to the Six Screens broadcast, I want you to think about something. Have you noticed lately how people are acting at the Kingdom Hall? Do they look totally content? Do they look like they're really receiving unbelievable benefits by coming to the Kingdom Hall? Well, not really. Uh, they're not. They're different than they were, say, back 20, 30 years ago. Uh, they feel a bit more relaxed. When I went to the meeting, it was like really going to I would say like a military meeting. You had to make sure you looked good. You had to make sure you were clean shaven. You had to make sure your shoes were polished. You couldn't walk in there looking like a ragamuffin. I mean, but today it's changed. So I would say if you're going to the Kingdom Hall these days, it's a little more relaxed than it was back in the days when many of us were going. The tone in the Kingdom Hall, it seems softer, and the rules they don't feel as strict as before. And we know that we talked about how they're now dealing with disfellowship ones, or as they're now calling them, removed ones. So we know that there is a different atmosphere, a more relaxed atmosphere, I guess you could say. It's completely different. And if I was going to the Kingdom Hall today, I'd notice it too. The atmosphere seems somewhat different than it was a while ago. But then now this has been going on for a few years, but now all of a sudden I'm finding too, uh, as of maybe the last couple of months, it seems like they're getting a little more stricter again. See, they go in cycles. So it does seem like it was relaxed. Now it's getting a little stricter. But this is what cults do. They want to keep people in limbo. They don't want people to figure them out. So just to give you some ideas here, I'm beginning to feel that this atmosphere where it's becoming a little more stricter, and you say, well, Rick, can you give me an example of it becoming more stricter? Yeah. Uh, okay. So a year ago they said that women could wear slacks, to the meetings. Men wouldn't have to wear a jacket or a tie. And now in some countries, they're starting to up the ante a little bit. They kind of want them to go back to the better dress code. So I'll say that's one example. And also another example is, here they do, they come out and they talk about, disfellowshipping. They're not going to use that term anymore. So they're now going to call it removed. So they kind of make it like a little more relaxing. I mean, removed sounds better than just fellowshipping, right? To some degree. Maybe you might notice a huge difference, but I mean, it means the same. It's just semantics. But the point I'm trying to make is now they seem to be, they lightened up, and now they're trying to say things to these governments like they're really not, hurting people by removing them from the congregation. But we know that hasn't changed. But what the point that I'm trying to make here is they get the witnesses very confused. A lot of Jehovah's Witnesses, they're not sure what to do. They don't know. They don't know whether they could talk to a disfellowship person only at the meetings. Can they talk to that person outside the meetings? They don't know if they should wear their dress to the Kingdom Hall or whether they should wear their slacks if they're a woman. And the man doesn't know, well, gee, can I have a long beard or should I kind of trim it? So they got a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses very confused. But I'll tell you what, that little relaxation as they've experienced is changing a little bit now. But you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the calm before the storm. The calm before the storm. I believe there's a big change coming. And it's not just me. There has to be a big change. Don't you think these guys at the Watchtower, the officials, are talking to outside firms to help them manage their crisis? The Watchtower's in crisis mode, that they can't handle it themselves. These guys are not smart enough to handle it. They need outside consultants to help them. But there's going to be some big changes. So,
Hey, Rick?
yeah, Susan.
I just wanted to mention that the Watchtower makes a sweeping mandate. Sisters can wear pants to the meetings. But what they don't realize in this day and age, women wear now, it's called athleisure. They don't wear dress pants like they might have 20 years ago. They wear athleisure. So it's not very dressy. So then they find this out. They go to the Kingdom Hall and these women are wearing athleisure. Well, they're only wearing what they thought the Watchtower said they could wear. So now they find out, well, they did something maybe not so great. That's not what they really meant. They were trying to make it easier, but they ended up not. So now they're going to have to put the hammer down and rearrange things so they can get it the way that they wanted. They thought they were doing something good, liking up, and they ended up causing more trouble for themselves.
Well, there you go, Susan. I'll agree with that 100%. So I don't know how you guys feel about it all, but if you were, going to the meetings back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and prior to the 90s, really, you probably thought the governing body cared for you a little bit too. And of course, you really didn't know them then, did we? Huh? They weren't all over as we said earlier, they weren't all over the, TV screen, so they're different. Is that you, Zach? No.
Hey, it's Dan.
Oh, yes.
It's Dan,
Yes, Dan. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Rick, I happened to meet some witnesses recently. It was actually the guy that turned me into the governing body when I asked him during the generation prophecy, the 70 or 80 years, prophecy, when it didn't happen and they got new information on the generation prophecy. All I did was say, did we pass up a prophecy? I wasn't looking at apostate literature. I wasn't reading anything apostate. I didn't even know what apostasy was, but I said, hey, Bill, did we pass up a prophecy? And the next thing you know, I was on apostate watch. The governing body wrote back and said, put me on apostate watch. And he showed me the letter and he said, Dan, you can't ask questions like that. And that was a big red flag. But what I wanted to say was I haven't seen that guy in 25 years. And I was driving through Colorado Springs and I said, Angela, I've been driving by this house 25 years. And we'd go down to Colorado Springs. And I said, one day I'm going to see Bill and Sharice. And sure as hell, I drove around the corner, and there they were outside. And I pulled up to them, and I said, "Hey, Bill, it's me." And then Angela goes, "It's Dan Clark." And they go, "Oh my God, all this stuff, right?" And so they said, "Come on in," like you said, how they've gotten lax, okay? And they invited us in, showed us all around their house. She called Bill and said, "Hey, get home, Dan's over," and and there's this big thing. And I don't know why, Rick, but I looked at him like, I hate to say this, but I was like, I know they've been brainwashed, but I was like, I don't want to hang out with people like you. They act like it's like 25 years have gone by, total shunning, and then they wanted to be like my friend. And I just looked at them, and anyway, they said, "Oh, we can do this." I said, I know. You can wear pants, you got a beard, you can clink glasses. And I said, Christmas is next. And anyway, all of a sudden her face frowned. And you know what I realized? There was no self-esteem in these people. When they told me that, when that guy pulled out that paper and said you're on a Passe watch, I wanted to hunt down Watchtower. I wanted to go into Watchtower and knock hell out of those guys. And I'm thinking, where's your guy's brain? I mean, I know this sounds horrible. I know they're brainwashed, but I was like, where's your guy's sense of self? You're 66, 70 years old, and they just told you could wear pants, and she's got a grin on her face the size of Texas. Oh, it's so wonderful now, Dan. It's so wonderful. We don't have to do this. We don't have to do that. And I'm like, my God. And I just was like, I was floored, and I thought, I hate to say it, Rick. I'm just going to say it. I don't like being around brainwashed people. I don't like being around people that don't have a sense of themselves. I don't like people that are like that. I mean, I know that sounds horrible, but it was a turnoff. It was like, your love isn't real. Your love is only conditional. If Watchtower tells you to love me, if Watchtower tells you to tomorrow, we want to tighten back the reins, like you said, Rick, and tighten everything back up again. We think you want to keep those witnesses at bay, then I would be cast out again. So they're not like real people. I mean, they're not, you know what I'm saying, Rick?
Oh, I know exactly what you're saying. Well, nobody likes to chum around with zombies, right? And that's how a lot of witnesses are, Dan. Not all, but they're in a trance-like state.
Yeah. They don't preach anymore. And Rick, you're right about the internet, because I remember right around that time when that brother said that was in the 90s. I remember when all of a sudden I did see something online, and it had to do with the blood. And it said that, something to do with I know what it was, that in Bulgaria, you didn't get disfellowshipped for if you took blood, but here we did. So I asked the brothers that. I said, "Is that true in Bulgaria?" Then all of a sudden, there was an internet, like you said, a YouTube video, and it was brothers from the Blood Liaison that said, "We're tired of watching brothers die, and we're stepping down." And so, like you said, Rick, that was the beginning of the end. Everybody started talking. The Blood Liaison were like, "Hey, we're from Watchtower Farms. We studied there, and we're stepping down, man. We've watched too many people die." And then this Bulgaria thing come out, and then all of a sudden, everybody started talking. And that was the end. That was the beginning of the end, just like you said.
Yeah. Well, Dan, no, always good to have you come on and talk. People love you, Dan. They love Angela. You add a lot of color to the program, and thank you for sharing your thoughts with us.
We love
tonight.
Everybody on there too, Rick. We've just been traveling a good bit, and we landed here at Richland County. I have to say this, Rick. Does everyone who leaves Watchtower will eventually they end up at Richland County?
Well, it reminds me of the trek that people make to the promised land. They.
It's true. It's true. We might end up out here. We might have put a contract on a home out here too, and Joe might be looking out this way himself. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? Everyone leaves Watchtower, ends up out in the south somewhere.
Well, you want to be around friends, and you guys are friends, so that's a good thing, Dan. My goodness gracious, yeah.
It's a good thing. That's right, Rick.
Well, you guys must be tired out though from driving around all over the place. My goodness, it's tiring, huh?
Yeah.
Boy.
It was 8,000 miles. We left Idaho, and then we went from Idaho to Arizona, Prescott, Arizona, put an offer in on a house. It fell through. We decided we'd go up to, where's the other place? No, it was another place way out in the middle of nowhere. We went out there, I don't know why I can't remember, but then we went from there all the way to Michigan. We had some friends out there, and then we went back up to Colorado, and we spent a couple weeks there, and then we said, let's just shoot over. It was Little Rock, Arkansas. And then we went from Little Rock to Michigan, Michigan to Colorado, and then we went back. We said, well, hell, let's just go up South Carolina, North Carolina, and see what's going on up there. And so we ended up out here, and if anybody wants to know, the houses are real affordable up here. What's $600,000 in Denver is $280,000 here. And so it's a total shift. I mean, if you got some money to put down, you might be into a, $800 a month payment as opposed to a $2,500 a month payment. So it's very affordable. Taxes are real cheap here. Food is real inexpensive. So it's probably the lowest in the nation. So that's why we were looking out here, and we can retire pretty comfortably out here.
Well, geez, we wish you all the best. My goodness, Dan.
That would be nice. This could be near me. Who are you?
Pixie.
Yeah. Can't wait to see you, Pixie. Where are you at?
I'm in Virginia.
All right, we're going to come see you and bother you.
Okay.
And Rick, too. We're coming to see Rick, too. Rick is not too far off, we heard. 1,000 miles is all he is. After what we've driven, that's a
straight road.
Okay, we'll do it. I'm serious. We're going to be right here, and we're going to travel. That's all we're going to do. We're going to be on that studio on Rick's one time too. He's going to have.
Oh yeah, absolutely, Dan. I'd love to see it. That'd be wonderful. Okay. Golly sakes, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you.
We're going to do it.
Well, you made my heart glad. Yes. Well.
Cool.
All right. Well, that's Dan Clark and of course Angela. They're out there with Dick and Constance in South Carolina. So, anyways, I wanted to say that, I'm talking about these lightening up and relaxing in the Watchtower. Something I came across, I wanted to play a clip for you folks. And this is something that never would have happened back in the 1960s. But anyways, I got a clip here from the 143rd Gilead graduation. And the reason why I'm bringing it up, because the Watchtower, as I said earlier, they're trying to make a more relaxed. But then I'm wondering if they're going to drop all of this singing and what have you. But this I found kind of fascinating. So let me play the clip. I'm going to share it right now. And this is what recently Watchtower is allowing. They never would allow this 30 years ago. Let's share it. Let's play the clip.
Recently, the governing body has given us loving encouragement through our regional convention program to never give up. Now, the Gilead students have written a song that goes right along with that spirit and that theme. It's entitled, "We'll Never Let Go."
Around the world, God's servants all rejoice. We praise Jehovah with a cheerful voice. Whatever comes our way, we fear no harm. We will get through, we have God's mighty arm. We won't give up, and no, we won't give in. Jehovah's on our side, this is a race, we'll win. We'll weather storms, Jehovah's strength will know. Of his right hand, of his mighty arm, we'll never let go.
Well, we'll let that one go. But you got the idea, right? You could never sing like that years ago in an assembly hall or convention hall or kingdom hall. But they lightened up in the last 10 years or so and let people do that. But they might take that away from them too. But you know, I was thinking when I heard that song, I can remember as a kid. We remember the organ grinder with the monkey. Did you guys ever see one of those? And you see the guy on the sidewalk and like a suit on with a hat on, and he'd be, playing the accordion and have a monkey on a leash, and the monkey would have a little cup and dance around to this music. Well, that's what it reminds me of. In fact, I want you to hear that organ music, and then I want you to see if there's any similarity. I found a similarity, but let's see if we can't find a similarity to that. Let me get that organ music up. Let's hear it right now, and you'll get a kick out of this, because I'll tell you what, the Watchtower music, they're trying to get these catchy little beats, right? They're getting these catchy little beats that can kind of grab your attention. So let's share this and let's see how it works. Let's get a full screen here and let's play it. Well, again, it's kind of catchy, right? Yeah, kind of catchy. So let's stop sharing that one. And then I also thought of, yes, who's this?
Rick, I got to alert you to this. You kept me up past my bedtime, but I talked to an apostate who's done probably 80 tubes. He doesn't want to be known that he's involved with this, but apparently Suno, S-U-N-O, it's a website you can go on, punch in some lyrics. I've heard 2 of the songs, and AI will produce an apostate song that easily. One of them I thought could easily be a top 40 hit, a reggae tune. So I can't say what the title was. This is what's going on. Now I want to assure people, I don't do AI, period. But he told me that I need to start doing AI with some of my stuff. But it's like, no, I don't trust it. But this is what's going on, and Watchtower is doing it too. They can punch in a few lyrics, put what genre they want, reggae, 70s rock, 80 mellow music, whatever. And then they've got a tune. This is what's happening, Rick. I'm not making this up.
Oh, I know you're not making. I know you're not making it up.
That too. You could do it yourself. Write like 5 lines of something, and it'll put it together for you, and you'll have a song. I don't know what the end game is for this. All I know is I don't want any part of it as of right now. So I just wanted to alert people out there, this is going to be coming to apostate tubes. It's probably already in Watchtower. Okay, I won't belabor the point. Talk to you later, Rick.
Well, thank you, King of Dots. Well, here's the yes.
This is Stefan. Did you want to finish your thought? I don't want you to.
No, that's fine. No, go ahead. No, go ahead, Stefan. I want to hear from you. You go ahead. Yep.
I just wanted to say I so agree with everything that you've been saying, because it's the same way that I've been feeling lately. I was on a plane not too long ago, and we were in a holding pattern, right? You know how the airports get a little too busy, you got too many planes landing, so you kind of have to hold. They just have you circling. And this goes right into what you were saying a few comments ago. Watchtower witnesses, in my opinion, at the Kingdom Hall level, are in a holding pattern. I don't think that they understand their frustration or the feeling of having a lack of purpose in being a Jehovah's Witness, because what are you doing? What are you accomplishing? Where are you going? You just go into meetings, hearing a bunch of nonsense. You go home every a couple times a year. You go to your assembly. The Watchtower witnesses are in a holding pattern, but the issue is when you're in a holding pattern in an airplane, it's for a finite amount of time. You're just waiting to get clearance so you can land. There's no place that the leaders of Watchtower has for these Jehovah's Witnesses to go. They know that there's no Armageddon. That's why that one, the Watchtower you talked about a couple weeks ago, are you going to be disappointed that Armageddon doesn't come in your life? They're setting a precedent for that now. They know that there's no final destination. So what do you do with all these people? You've got to take them someplace. There's no place for them to go, and this is why they have so much irritation and frustration. They may not even know it, but they've got to feel something in their soul. They have to feel, where are we going with this? And then when you deprecated the preaching work, to me, the preaching work was the glue that kept this organization together. Because no matter what the wacky teaching was, at least you could say, we're the only ones who go out and preach and teach. You can't say that anymore. And then you definitely can't say that what you taught was the truth when everything that you taught in the last 100 years, Watchtower has now done a complete 180 on. And I do mean everything. Now they're even telling you Armageddon is not going to come in your lifetime. And just a few years ago, it's millions now living are never going to die. So you've deprecated the preaching work. You can't teach Bible, like you just said a few minutes ago. They cannot teach the Bible because everything that they've said from a biblical standpoint, anybody with knowledge about the Old Testament and the New Testament will completely shut Watchtower down. And if you don't believe that, just go to YouTube and you can watch From Now Till Kingdom Come videos where they really teach what the Bible says versus what Watchtower teaches. So Watchtower is in this holding pattern, but there's no place for them to land. There's no place for them to go. That plane is going to run out of gas and crash and kill everybody. That's just the bottom line. There's no place for them to go. And if people can't see that, they might still sense something deep in their soul that, hey, this thing is just not going anywhere. It's in a holding pattern going absolutely nowhere.
Well, I like your illustration. That's a good term. I like that. The holding pattern. Exactly. That's exactly what they would be in. Well, thank you for that thought, Stefan. Appreciate that.
Rick,
Yes.
hello.
Yes, go ahead. You're on with us.
Hello, Rick.
Hi.
Donnie here in England.
Hi, Donnie.
Yeah, those tunes that you play, the monkey tunes, they've been cracking me up, honestly. Especially the first one, "We'll Never Let Go." Well, for sure, the governing body won't let go of any JWs until they've got a pound of flesh from them. But what I find really nauseating about the JW.org videos, I haven't seen them in years, but at the end, Stephen Lett or whoever says, "The governing body loves you." That's so nauseating because there's no love at all.
Well, I'm glad you picked up on that, Donnie, because I pick up on that all the time. It's just kind of like a cheap way of ending their broadcast. They seem to do it with so many of them, but it's so disingenuous. It really is. They're really not really meaning it. And we want to send out love. We want you to know the governing body loves us. I rather doubt that one. Thank you, Donnie.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so it's amazing. It's just amazing to me. I like Stefan. I like that, the holding pattern. That's what I think is going on too. There's something going to happen here soon. They're going to have to get some, like I told you earlier, some counselors, someone that can kind of give them consultants or whatever to help them get through this mess because they're in it. And also on the song, then we're playing a little organ grinder music. I wanted to bring up that what they've done when they first, remember that cart? I'm not going to play that song tonight for you again, but the cart song, very catchy. When that first came out, we talked about it here in the 6 screens. People said, wow, that has like a Disney sound to it. They referred to it as Disney-esque. They said, that sounds like a Walt Disney song. Well, I'll tell you what, I did find out that from what I did find out, whether it's a fact or not, but it seemed pretty factual, that there was a higher up in the Disney organization that was one of Jehovah's Witnesses. And he kind of introduced them to that Disney-esque sounds. And, because when they make a movie, they've got to really get a good song, right? You got to get a good song. I mean, some of these songs that Disney has produced in the many years of them being in business have been, on the #1 list. So, I'm sure they got advice from someone. But also what I'm thinking of is simple tunes. It's almost so simple that it's like, it reminds you like you're in school, when you're like in the 1st or 2nd grade and everybody sings a little song together, Ring Around the Rosie or whatever it would be. It's kind of catchy, and this is what I think is the witness organization is trying to do is make it catchy. So I came up with another one. So see if someone can tell me what this song now. Where would you hear this? Let me share this, and let's share this right now. And I want you to tell me where would you hear this? Make it full screen, and let's play it. Listen. Well, I mean, everyone loves the Bobby horses, right? So that, I mean, I don't want to give the Watchtower ideas here. They'll put some words to that, maybe like King of Dots was saying, and create a whole new kingdom song with that. I don't want to give them ideas, but that's what I'm saying. They're trying to appeal to you. I mean, every kid loves that, right? Mommy, can we go on the Bobby horses? You know, I mean, everyone loves that. So I don't want to give the Watchtower any ideas. But isn't it amazing? Isn't it amazing? So let's stop sharing this. All right, that one's done. So, anyways, I think it's kind of fascinating. But holding pattern, I'm going to like that. The Watchtower is in a holding pattern, but eventually they got to land. And where they're going to land, I think, is anybody's guess. So let's see what else is going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. Well, there's a lot of things happening that I wanted to talk about. You know, something I got thinking about today. I've been in different kingdom halls in my life, a number of different kingdom halls. And, you know, there are poor kingdom halls in poor neighborhoods. And then there's also, you know, wealthy kingdom halls, so to speak, in wealthy neighborhoods. And I've been in both. I've been in both. And I did see a difference. I did see a difference in the way things are handled. And I wanted to bring this up today because I was wondering if anybody else ever noticed it. I noticed in the poorer areas, I'll tell you what, I think the witnesses have to work harder. They really, really do. I think if you're in a poor area, like in a city, for example, and in certain parts of cities, they have areas that are more poor, economically stressed, so to speak. And I noticed that, boy, people working in those congregations, Jehovah's Witnesses, they have it hard. I mean, imagine climbing stairs, going out in service, up and down, 3-4 story tenement houses. So, it's really drudgery. And then I've been in areas where, very wealthy congregations. And I think the wealthy congregations, I think that's the place to be if you could be in one, because it's a lot less work. But then I was even wondering, did I notice any difference in their the strictness? Were the poorer congregations more strict? Were the wealthy congregations? And I find that the poorer congregations were more strict. And I've noticed that in two particular congregations that I went to. One was pretty in a good area in Florida, and then they sent me to a poor area in Florida. And I noticed that they seemed to be more strict. And I don't know why, whether they thought they could pull the wool over the people's eyes or what, but they would seem to be way more strict than the poorer congregations. And then up here in Lowell, Massachusetts, where I live, I was going to a nice hall. I like it a lot in Wilmington. It's a couple of towns away from Lowell, which is a city. And I lived in Lowell, but right on the Tewksbury, right on the line of the next town. So the circuit overseer came in and, Rick can't go. He can't go to Wilmington anymore. He's got to go to Lowell. So they sent me to Lowell. And I have to tell you, I noticed a difference right off the bat. And they were way more strict. And I'm just wondering if anyone else ever saw that. And then I would like to know the reason for it. I don't know the reason. I can conjure ideas up, but the poor people seem to get beaten up more in the Watchtower than those that kind of do a little better. And then I even got thinking along these lines. How many elders have you known in your congregation, wherever you might be, whether you're in Europe, Africa, or wherever you're listening to this program, how many elders are poor elders? They're not. Most of the elders in the congregation I went to, even in the poor cities, areas, they all own their own houses. So, not that that's a gauge that one would follow to make some type of a consensus on this, but poorer brothers never seem to get moved forward. They seem to be always held back for some reason. And the Watchtower, they want to put elders in that have some money so they can make up the deficits. I'm sure that's one reason. But I was wondering if anyone ever noticed that. Did you notice that in congregations you went to? Do you think the more wealthy congregations weren't as strict as, say, the poorer congregations? What do you think? Love to hear from you. Hit *6. No one's ever noticed a difference, Sam. No, in fact, I got thinking of that today. I says, I want to bring this up and see what people experienced. And I did definitely see that happen in the congregations I went to. All right. Yes.
Oh, this is Junction Guy. The topic you're talking on now is something I was thinking earlier. The differences between congregations and areas, different areas of the country and whatever. Now, my experience may be an anomaly, but it was a little different. It's a little different than yours. I attended congregations in wealthier areas in Ohio, and I attended congregations in poorer areas in Kentucky. And mine was more, and it may just be that area there, but it was more different than what you were thinking. It seemed like the richer congregations that I went to were the more stricter ones. And these congregations in Kentucky, they weren't quite as strict. They didn't understand as much about the society's rules. They had different, just different things that they were quite kind of less shunning, but it could have been because of the situations there where the community is, people know everybody and they don't want to get a bad reputation. I don't know, but it just seemed in my experience, the difference in the congregations. But yeah, my experience was the richer congregations seemed more controlling and more judgmental. But I'm only comparing against those poor congregations I went to, which that area itself may just be totally different, than the rest of the country, period. But anyway, this topic is something I was thinking of. Different congregations, different areas. Did any witnesses see things that happen there that wouldn't happen in other parts of the country? Stuff like that.
Well, I'll tell you, Junction Guy, thank you for coming. Now, you got me thinking. You really got me thinking. My mind is working overtime here when you were talking. And I'm thinking that it really should be that way. I think the more wealthy congregations should be the most strict. And because Watchtower is all about money. So I was just thinking as you were talking that, if they can really put strict rules on the wealthy, you might be able to keep them in line and get them to give you more money. The Watchtower doesn't do anything on the wing. They do everything. I'm sure they sit down, they all think about it. Everything's done in a purposeful way. So yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
I have one more thing to add to that, just to bring home the point. I had an uncle who was 99 years old. He was raised a witness, but he never was a witness all throughout his life until after his first wife died, and he became a witness. However, he was the most patriotic person. He was very patriotic. He was big on veterans. They had a special ceremony honoring him as a special veteran from this World War II ship there. And he reveled in all of that. He celebrated Christmas and birthdays with his family. He never got this fellowship. And I'm just wondering if maybe that area was just different. It was different enough where they didn't do that, or the fact that he was well popular in the community, and had they disfellowshipped, then word would have got out and it could have given them bad rep. So anyway, he if you were talking to the man, you'd never know he was Jehovah's Witness. However, he refused a blood transfusion at 99 years of age, and he died.
Oh, that's sad. That's sad, Junction.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, well, thank you for sharing your thoughts here, Junction Guy. I really do. Thank you for bringing this up with the congregations. And one thing I noticed in the poorer congregations, they have way more judicial committee hearings. I mean, it's like every week someone's getting disciplined or publicly reproved. I did notice that in the congregations in the poorer areas I went to, they seem to get the brunt of the brunt of it all. Yeah, so that's interesting. Anyone else want to comment on that? Did you what about the congregation you went to? Do you think there's any difference? What do you think? Yes.
Yeah, I noticed. I've went to both before, poor and very wealthy, and what I noticed, just since I've been out in the area in Idaho, the Hispanic were out every week in the huge numbers, and I never ever saw a white congregation. I guess you'd call it white, but a white person congregation. I never saw them out ever, and that was interesting. And the other thing that I noticed in the richer congregations they were very open. Like a brother would just come up to me and say, "Hey Dan, if you want to have a voice here, just put it in your paycheck. If you want to have a voice in the hall, just leave $1,500 or a couple thousand, and you'll be able to make some changes. Give some thoughts, but you're not going to have any voice at all unless you leave a decent donation." And it was kind of open like that. And they dressed different. They ate at nice places. To me, it seemed more relaxed as far as, serving Jehovah. What were you going to say, Rick?
Oh, no. In fact, I wasn't going to say anything. I'm listening intently. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, but they're out by the hundreds. We'd go to the coffee shop in Idaho, and it was completely filled with Hispanics. They had Bible studies in there. There were 2 or 3 carts on the road out there. And it was amazing. I thought, where are the white people? I don't know if they're more superstitious or whatever, but we did see some white people out on the trails, and they were very laxed. I mean, they told me, go get a beer. They said, how you doing today? I said, I'm doing great. How you guys doing? And I wanted to ask them some things about the organization. Of course, like you said, they sent me to jw.org, and they wouldn't tell me anything, but they said, why don't you go have a beer over there? They got some really good beer right over there. And there's really a whole different consciousness. It's so relaxed now with the congregations, but I was surprised to see the difference between the two, the Hispanic and the white. They were two totally different. One was very active and one was very just really, really laid back.
Oh yeah, no, I did. I really did notice a difference. I really did notice a difference when I was there. But there might not be any real reason behind it. But Junction Guy got me thinking. Maybe if the more wealthy congregations were stricter, as I said, maybe by keeping them more in line, they can get them to give more money. That's what the Watchtower.
Agree, Rick.
Yeah.
You know what else too? I can't believe I know I said it a minute ago, but I can't believe that I can't believe that they have no self-esteem, that they're not offended that they're told they could wear panties or pants. I'm sorry. Sorry, Rick. At that age, I mean, you could wear slacks, or have a beard. I can't believe that they're grinning from ear to ear. It's so good now, Dan. It's like, you guys know you're older and you're being told how to dress and how to groom. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
Not to be panty.
Well,
Hey, Rick, let me make a brief comment here, please.
go ahead, Jack. Yeah, go ahead, Jack.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I found them all to be strict. And the witnesses were witnesses to me. I also think that in each of your cases, your sample size is too small. You probably haven't visited enough around and been long enough to be able to make that kind of a judgment yet.
Oh yeah, no, I
Your
agree.
samples are too small, so it's skewed.
Yeah, well, I kind of preface it that there's no real factual, position that I could take on this. It's just something I observed.
No, I did hear you say that. I appreciate that. Let me say something too about that song that they were singing at the Gilead graduation. Was it?
Yeah.
It was okay. You go to a Gilead graduation, you will see things a little different that you're not used to seeing. And I think in the Kingdom Hall, I'll say this: I've seen or been involved in singing "Hello Bethel" to the tune of "Hello Dolly," and with a whole bunch of people doing a play. I've sung somewhere. What I Did for Love, all this in that 107 Kingdom Hall. So when you get around Bethel, they are a little more open with the kind of with what they will do. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Because they had that family night thing. And I think that song however, that song that they were singing with that with a beat, it just didn't have enough soul in it. If you're going to have a beat, you need a little more soul than that. And when I was younger, we would have called that corny.
Well, it would be put in that classification as corny. Yes. Well, thank you.
That's all.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Rick.
Yes.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
This is Stefan. I went to a poorer hall that I grew up in, and then the last hall that I attended was slightly more well-to-do, but only slightly. So, but the one thing that I noticed that I missed, it seemed to me in the poorer hall that people were a little more close-knit. It kind of reminded you, if you've ever watched some of the older shows like Little House on the Prairie, if they had a fire, the whole community comes out to help with the fire. Or if something got burnt down, the whole community would come out to rebuild it. In other words, everybody helped each other because it was all you had. That's the one thing that I did notice in some of the poorer halls, that people helped each other. And when you are working together with people shoulder to shoulder, not in the ministry, but maybe fixing somebody's house because they need help because they can't afford it, or maybe you've got mechanical skills, you can go help put a starter in Sister So-and-so's car. You wind up having a little bit closer congregation because people are kind of working together. They can kind of trust each other and rely on each other a little bit, and then that's going to turn into, kind of doing extracurricular things outside of the congregation. It's a little bit more close-knit. I noticed in the last hall where everybody was a lot more well-to-do, there was no close-knit. Nobody needed you for anything. We don't need you for anything. We just see you at the meeting, and maybe we see you in a service, and that's about it. So people weren't close. They didn't. The elders only hung out with the elders, and most of the time it was always elders from other Kingdom Halls, so they weren't even close. Ministerial service the same way. So that was the one thing that I noticed. The less well-heeled halls seemed to be a lot more close-knit because they kind of worked together and came together when things needed to be done, more so than the more affluent hall.
Well, thank you, Stefan. No, that's well. Thank you for your observation. It's I agree with what you're saying there. It's true. So I just wanted to throw that on the table tonight, just as a little thought of what different congregations would do. Anyone else have a thought on that? We're going to go to Arizona. Go ahead, 602. You're on with us.
Hey, Rick. Gilbert. Hey, I think that we've talked about this extensively, and we have a different take because we don't look at it from that perspective, even though what everyone's saying makes a lot of sense. Jesse and I, we talk about the spirit, and let me just give you an example. Let's describe the spirit as, for illustration's sake, as a radioactivity, and the heart of radioactivity is at Bethel, 25 Columbia Heights, right? So it's a toxic radiation that's coming out of Watchtower. So this is why my brother and I, we always knew that the California brothers in the Spanish, they were infected with, you could say, that radiation from New York, because there was a high concentration of Bethelites from Bethel going to New York and back. But see, Jesse and I grew up in a congregation where Peter Rojas served in World War II in Japan. Bonset served in North Africa, World War II. And then Ramos served in Korea. And Sanchez served in Vietnam. So here we have elders who fought in World War II in Vietnam and Korea. And they had a different perspective. They didn't have the spirit of the Watchtower in New York, even though they were Jehovah's Witness, but they weren't completely radioactive. So my brother Jesse and I, we found, when we look back and on everything, the more contact a congregation has with Watchtower in New York, with the central hub, via circuit district overseers and the like. Say, for example, a Gilead graduate or somebody who's served in Bethel for a long time moves into your congregation. So too does that radioactivity, that spirit. So what you see, this explains why certain congregations, like I've been in an English congregation where whoever's on the phone and heavy breathing, come on. But so I've been in congregations where some elders would say, only elders, you should have first been to fellowship to qualify as an elder, because they understand what it's like to be on the other side. And so you have other elders that come from Bethel because they got retired, and they want to disfellowship the whole world. So it's the spirit of New York that the closer or the more your congregation connection to it, the more toxic your congregation becomes. And the last thing I wanted to say, Rick, was about the song, and it also goes back to the spirit. It's really interesting because you know who The Rock is, Dwayne Johnson, the actor, right? He came out with a movie with John Travolta called Be Cool. And it was a very funny scene because Dwayne Johnson, bodybuilder, wrestler, he's doing a scene where he's singing a Britney Spears song. And then after he does the song, this girly song and dance, he asks John Travolta, what do you think? And John Travolta is like dumbfounded. He goes, well, you did very good, very great. But my recommendation to you is that in the next time you do an audition, you pick a role designed for a man, a male role. So what you have here in that video that you saw is that song perfectly illustrates the spirit of Watchtower. From the very top down, the governing body is a metrosexual a group of men that they do not have masculinity. They have no testosterone in their blood, and they have no testosterone in their leadership. And as they say, everything rolls downhill. So because the governing body doesn't have it, you see in that video all of the Gilead graduates and the males, they're clapping like seals, and they look like girls. Whereas I was listening to last night, for example, I like listening to old music. I was listening to Jim Croce and Frank Sinatra. And Jim Croce's singing a song, and he sounds like a truck driver, and he sounds like a military man. Why? Because he was in the Army. He was a truck driver. He was from Louisiana. But it exuded masculinity. I was listening to Frank Sinatra last night. He was singing That's Life. And it sounded like a man's song. It was so deliciously filled with testosterone. And so Watchtower sounds like Walt Disney because you have men who have no testosterone. They can't even stand up and fight and defend children from child molesters. These are the leaders. Hold on.
Can I talk?
No, wait, because this is Rick Shook. Let Rick finish. So Rick, so that's the whole point. It goes back to the spirit, and we forget a lot because we think in human terms. But if you look at the spirit, that video tells you the spirit of the governing body. If the governing body was filled with masculine men, you would have masculine songs. So does that make any sense, Rick?
Well, in fact, I didn't think of it, but some of those silly tunes, I wouldn't classify them as.
Gilbert, I wanted to ask Gilbert a question. Rumors are going around that you got married to some hot girl out of Las Vegas. Is that true or not?
I can't confirm or deny. I'm running for political office.
Well, can she get on the phone and confirm or deny? I'm hearing you're on your honeymoon now.
No.
And Ted, you're more interested in the apostate movement. How is that going to affect your marital life? I mean, come on.
I live a very private life. But you know what, Rick? It does go back to the masculinity thing, and you have to understand that we are spirits living in a material world, and that comes from the rock band Police. And you sing the song. When you understand that, it all makes sense. This is why the Jehovah's Witnesses cannot fight and defend children, because they do not have testosterone. And the ones that do, the men that have the fighting spirit, have already left.
Well, I had.
Can I comment to that? Am I allowed, Gilbert, to comment to that? I had to ask your brother Jesse tonight if you beat him, because he seemed to not want to comment too much because he feels under threat from you for some reason. I don't know if you're just your force of will, your force of personality is just so overwhelming that he cannot become an individual himself. But no, I hope not. But I will say this, that testosterone is overrated.
No, it's not.
In my opinion. It's, can I talk just a little bit longer?
Go ahead.
You know, I hear this stuff about this testosterone all the time, and I think it's just an excuse to do violence for the most part. I mean, what is the purpose of it? Or more sex or more violence? I mean, what is your opinion of more testosterone? I mean, I don't mind seeing the governing body look like limpets on a stick. Okay,
my opinion is Jesus was exuding manliness. Every time I think of Jesus,
he never had sex with a woman.
But he always spoke with authority, and he was a man's man. Another one that was a man's man was John the Baptist. The great men of history were man's men. And so, and this is what Watchtower doesn't have. They don't have man, men for man. They're not man. I don't want to be like Stephen Lett. I don't want to be like any of the governing body members. But every time I see a real man, I'm like, I want to be like him. I want to be like Jesus. I want to be like John the Baptist. I want to be like, a real man.
Well, guess what? I can't put that down. I can't put that down. But I would tell you right now, the evolution of what a real man has, it's different now, Gilbert. And I think you're extinct now. People like you, they don't consider you a man.
Yeah,
you've got to change, buddy.
No,
you got to get your thing on in a different way to appeal to the modern generation.
I think that's where you misunderstand the concept that Jesse and I are talking about. When we talk about manliness and testosterone, we're also talking about the spirit. And at some point, you have to understand that you're no longer human, that you're a spirit being. And a spirit being acts with confidence. He speaks with authority, and he doesn't give an inch to the dark side. And this is exactly what does.
Spirits don't have testosterone, though, dude.
No, but see, Watchtower
they don't have that.
Watchtower does not lift up the young man and create and make him a man. He gets a little boy and he keeps him into a Disney song mentality, a Disney life.
That is true. I will say that.
He'll always be a beta male. And that's
they're very effeminate. Very feminine.
In that video,
some men are effeminate, in my opinion.
They all are. And what you saw in that video is Watchtower will always keep you a beta male. As long as you stay in the Jehovah's Witness religion, you will always be a beta male.
But you got to remember, Gilbert, modern.
That disturbed me. I think you hit the nail on the head.
They won't tolerate you for a second. You've got to get down to what women want. I mean, that's what we've all done, right, Greg?
I want an alpha male that can make the campfire and the coffee, and I'll do most of the other stuff.
Thank you, Dixie Lamb.
All right. We're gonna move on here. We have more stories to cover here tonight. So, okay, thank you, Gilbert. Thank you, King and Dots. Yeah, go ahead. Who's this? Someone say something? Go ahead. All right. I just wanted to bring up here that what Gilbert said. I'm kind of listening here to some degree, I do believe, and even King and Dodds brought it up, there are a lot of effeminate men in the Watchtower. In fact, I know of so many. Now, I'm not saying they're, girly men, but effeminate men. And I'm not sure why that is, but there's an awful lot of them. Maybe we could bring that up some night here in the call. But what I want to bring up here tonight is I wanted to kind of bring this thought up. I could think of what are some of the biggest scams in the Watchtower? What was the biggest scam in the Watchtower? And I believe I nailed this one. I can think of a number of scams, really. I think of the Tacoma Dome scam out in Washington State back in the 1980s when Washington, the city of Tacoma in Washington, had a big stadium. They still have it there. And the witnesses would meet there for convention. And the Tacoma Dome was charging the witnesses to park. And the organization went to the officials of Tacoma Dome and said, look, we have a poor organization. Our people can't afford to park in your parking lot. So we're not going to have our convention there. So the officials of the convention site went along with Watchtower and said, fine, have your convention here. We won't charge for the parking. What did Watchtower do? They charged anyways for the parking. They started selling tickets, parking tickets to their publishers, to their members to park there. And so that was a scam. I think of that as a scam. Another thing I think of as a scam would be the hotel. You had to be on a list of hotel. You had to get your room to go to a convention from a hotel list. Well, I'm sure there's a lot of money, or maybe not actual cash, but benefits that came to the Watchtower without them ever telling you that. I mean, I know what the benefits could have been. They could have got rooms for the mucky mucks based on the amount of rooms they would rent, the witnesses would rent at the hotel near the convention site. But that was never told the witnesses. But if it was told up front, people could probably get it. But see, the witnesses, they pull these scams off without really, making it seem like a scam. But when you look into it, it's nothing but a scam. But I think the biggest scam ever in the history of the Watchtower, in my estimation, and I know there's many scams, but I got to go with what took place in 2013, 2014. And you guys might remember it. But what it was the governing body. They introduced a compulsory purchase and ownership scheme. You say, well, what was that all about? Well, if you remember what the governing body did, they wanted to have control. They wanted to own all the kingdom halls, not only here in America, but all around the world. So they pulled this scheme off, and it was quite successful. And, well, what they did is they told the members, they didn't tell the members the whole story. They just told the members half of the story. Now you say, well, what was going on back then, Rick? What happened? Well, the governing body, they wrote a letter to the congregations and making them look like real heroes. The governing body mentioned that they were going to let the people who had a loan through them at the Kingdom Hall, that they didn't have to pay the loan, because the Watchtower would lend money to congregations rather than the congregations going through a bank, and the Watchtower would charge them interest, maybe not as high. I'm going to just mute some people here. Hold on 1 second while I do that, because it kind of interferes with what I'm saying. Okay. Yeah, so what the Watchtower would do is they would give the interest, a lower interest, but not real low, maybe a point lower than a bank, and they would loan the Kingdom Hall money. So all of a sudden, 2013, they came in, they said to these congregations that had loans with them, don't worry, the governing body's got a real gift for you. We're gonna renege. You don't have to pay that loan anymore. We're gonna let it go. We're gonna forgive that loan. You don't owe us the money. So they said that. So what would you do? What would you do if you were sitting in the Kingdom Hall? And boy, you're an elder there. Wow, isn't that nice of the Watchtower? We don't have to pay the loan. So, at first it sounded really good, but the second part of the letter was that in view of, that loan being forgiven, that you would now be on the hook. If you could do it, they kind of suggested if you could do it, to send each month the same amount of money, maybe even more if you have it, to the Watchtower. And so what really would be the difference? So you forgive the loan, but the Watchtower is now making you have to pay in perpetuity, forever, an ongoing expense that you would now have to send money that equaled your loan to the Watchtower every month. So instead of the loan, which was a fixed term contract, you're now going to pay money to the Watchtower forever. So, I mean, this was the second part of the letter, but the first part of the letter sounded pretty good. So you say, well, what about the congregations that didn't have a loan with the Watchtower? Well, what about them? Well, what benefits would they get? Well, they got none. The Watchtower asked the same. They had the same policy for congregations that didn't have a loan. The congregations were paid off, but they wanted these congregations, excuse me, with the paid off loans to also give them money that would be equal to what they would have paid if they did have a loan. See, they wanted to get the kingdom halls, and in offering this to them, they figured they could get all these kingdom halls turned over in their name because that's what they wanted to do. Well, we'll give you a bonus, even though it was a scam. Up front, they were trying to get them to put the deed in their name. So it was a big scam, was a big scandal. Go with that. So I would say that was the biggest thing. But I can remember there was a clip. There was a clip by Stephen Lett, and this really, really would rattle a person's cage. It would make them really, really upset. There was a clip with Stephen Lett, and he was saying, in context of this letter going out to the congregations, he said, imagine your bank saying your loan is canceled. And that's what the Watchtower did. They forgave the loan or they canceled the loan. And then he says, this only happens in Jehovah's organization. Those guys all got scammed. And I'm even going to add a little more frosting to the cake here. Now, in many countries, I'm not sure about America, but I know some countries where property tax, see, there's no real property tax here in America or in kingdom halls, but in some countries there is, like Spain, for example. So in Spain, the property tax had to be paid not by the Watchtower. Now, they just took your kingdom hall over. They're now making you pay, what you'd pay with your canceled loan, what you paid normally if you still had the loan. And now they're going to make you pay the property tax on all of this. So, I mean, that is a real con game. And we talked about it so many times here on the 6 screens. And I have to tell you something. There's more con games coming. There's way more con games coming. So you guys all remember that. And, a lot of elders, I got information from elders on this. And they're still talking about it to this day. And many have left the organization because of it. But the reason why I wanted to bring this up tonight is because right now, because of the con games of the Watchtower, you have a lot of people leaving. They're really seeing through this. Our congregations are constantly being asked for money. The donations, please donate. Some congregations are having whole local needs talks on, give us more money. One congregation we mentioned a few weeks back where the brother got up was a local needs talk. And he called the brothers and sisters in the congregation weak, spiritually weak. It was a poor congregation too. And he called them spiritually weak because they weren't giving enough money. And Jehovah's not going to bless you. I mean, imagine putting that. And he even said, even if you don't have the money, even if you have if you don't have the money, scrape it up somehow. Do what you can to make the organization be happy. Yes. So look at all the people being scammed by this organization. So I have to say that was the biggest scam that I've ever heard of. And I've been doing this program for 20 years. We talked about the Tacoma Dome and others, but I put that one at the top of the list. Just my thoughts. Any other thoughts on that? Go ahead. You're on with us.
Can you,
Yep.
hey, Rick? Hey, Rick?
Let's
Rick?
go. Let's go to the first brother first. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, Rick, I had one. Oh, I don't know who's.
Yeah, no,
whoever wants to go.
no, go ahead. Go ahead. You're on. Yep.
I just had a quick one. This is one that used to affect me when I was a kid, and I'm still upset about it. And that was Watchtower implemented this policy, and a lot of the newer ex-witnesses may not know, but we had to pay for our literature. So if we went out in the ministry, they called it a placement, but we would get money from the householder. But on top of that, we as active witnesses had to pay for our own literature. And there was a time when Watchtower used to publish the Watchtower and Awake magazine as an annual subscription. And they forced every member in a household to have their own subscription to the Watchtower and the Awake magazine. I don't know if you remember that, Rick. So if you would have had yours, your wife, all your kids, they would have had their own subscription for the same Watchtower and Awake. You have all these copies coming in. And me as a kid, I had to pay for my damn subscription with my ice cream money. And I was really pissed about that because guess what? I like ice cream. So that to me was a big scam, making people buy this literature. And you couldn't just get away with having one subscription for the household. Every member in the household had to have their own. I'm still upset about that. I want my damn ice cream money back.
Well, I don't blame you, Stefan. That's funny you bring that up, but that I do remember that. I used to call it double dipping because I was saying, geez, I'm going up, I'm buying the literature. It wasn't that much. It was like a nickel a magazine or something. But then I say, okay, so I'm buying the literature, magazines, books. Now I got to go out in service and I got to put the money in a white envelope. Make sure you turn that envelope into the overseer and so you can keep the money and track it. But we were paying in the household. It was paying. Yeah, that was a scam too. Good scam. Yep. Thank you. All right. Well, I mean,
That's amazing.
Yeah, go ahead. Is that you, Dan?
Yep. I just thinking how amazing that scam was. I mean, just think about that, Rick. And I think they threw some fear in there too. They told them that, we don't want you to get sued. I remember they were saying it was going to be kind of an umbrella or something that when Watchtower took it over, nobody would really sue the congregation or the Kingdom Hall. So they felt safe that way. But what the interesting thing that's really a scam, where you think the brothers would really think about it, is not only do the Watchtower take over the deed, but they also have the equity. And they have the brothers taking care of the property for free and paying the loan. What a scam. You talk about multi-level scam, a piece of property being maintained, you own the equity and you got free labor. What a scam. And anyway, it was slick and it worked. And boy, they've sold the halls. And it's funny, when you talk to the brothers, I did tell those people that I met down in Colorado Springs, I did talk about the Kingdom Halls. And they said, oh, quit that, Dan. Quit talking about that. They're just buildings. I said, no, they weren't buildings. We dedicated them to Jehovah. We built them with our own hands. And I said it like this. I said, don't you guys think it's weird that you would give Babylon the Great, the world empire, a false religion, say, here, hit the ground running. We built a hell of a hall for you. A place we couldn't even go into for a wedding. But you say to the religion, hit the ground running. These are built well. And I actually talked to a brother, and not a brother, but a guy in Sedona. And he said the witnesses were the greatest people. They gave us this hall, and it's a metaphysical, place, really full of crystals and everything. But he gave it to them so that they could hit the ground running. And we couldn't go in there for a wedding. We couldn't go there. Isn't that ridiculous? This whole thing is so crazy.
Well, Dan, and nobody, in fact, I had one elder that gave me some information here this week, in fact. And what he was saying is that under this scam that they pulled with this Kingdom Hall takeover, and we're going to, cancel your mortgage and all of that, he was telling me that, what elder would really stand up to the Watchtower, that they would remove you, that they would hold you hostage. So, that's another scam in itself. Any reasonable company would, if you had people who are acting as, officials and certainly had a say in the matter, you would listen to what they had to say. But they wouldn't listen to an elder. They wouldn't listen to an elder if an elder said, hey, wait a minute. We bought this Kingdom Hall years ago. My father and mother actually took money out of their bank to help build this. And, people, we put blood, sweat, and tears into this, and we're not just going to hand it over like this. I'm not going to go for it. What would happen to that elder? See you later. He's gone,
Yeah, you know what else, Rick? They're masters at praise. What they usually do before this is, we know you brothers will be in agreement. We know you understand. We know that this is part of Jehovah's, and so it's like you said, Rick, they don't have any real choice but to fall into agreement. They just have to stuff it. Whether their dad paid a Kingdom Hall off or gave them $100,000 or everybody sweat. I mean, right in the face of pure bullshit, right in the face of they're stealing our building, right in the face of that, they say, we want to commend you, brothers. Jehovah wants to commend you, brothers. And they just follow suit. It's so crazy. But eventually, Rick, like you said, they're waking up. They're waking up for whatever reason. Thank God they're waking up.
Well, that's true. They are, in fact, and we're so glad to hear that, Dan. Well, everyone, what we're going to do here tonight, we're going to let it go for tonight. We want to tell everyone that's been calling in that we appreciate their presence. We really thank you for wanting to spend some time with us here tonight on the 6 screens. I want to let you know that there will be a 6-screen Sunday tomorrow. So, come in tomorrow. Now, tomorrow we get into theological issues. We don't get into that on Saturday night. But, right now there's a lot of people leaving the Watchtower because of theological reasons. So if you're one of those people and you'd like to have some theological information tomorrow, by all means, come in and join us beginning at 1 o'clock. We have a great program. We have 2 Christian apologists that come on, Jody Bishop, Scott Walton. They'll be on tomorrow at 1. And then you're going to get Anne-Marie back with her Jehovah's Witnesses, ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, tell their story of being in the Watchtower. And then we do JW World News Sunday edition. Then we have another program called The Christian Court, which they answer peculiar Christian questions. And then if you have Bible questions, 5 o'clock, Jay Hess, he can answer them for you. So join us tomorrow on 6 Screen Sunday. And if you like us on Facebook and YouTube, well, let them know that and subscribe to our channel. And so many other people will be able to hear many things you guys are hearing here tonight. And what I do here as of the last couple of weeks is I've been leaving the telephone line open. So if you're on the telephone line or you see the telephone number there on YouTube and Facebook and you'd like to chat off air, it's gaining momentum. A lot of people have been staying in there and talking after hours. So if that excites you or you like to do that, by all means, join the group after the conference, after our YouTube videos are down. You'll be able to talk on our telephone line. Well, I want to thank you all for coming into 6 Screens of the Watchtower tonight. We wish Dick Borgie out there the best. We pray he'll continue to get better and looking forward to seeing him in a month or so. So, Dick, take care of yourself. We love you. And we pray, too, that you'll be with all those people right now that are leaving the Watchtower. May they be able to get some solace. May they be able to get some peace. May they be able to be normal people and live with some freedom. So everyone, thank you for coming in. And may I say this, the last one leaving the Watchtower, please turn off the new light. We'll see you tomorrow beginning at 1 o'clock right here on the 6 Screens Telenetwork. Good night, everyone.